All right, let's talk about the new next.js because it's got this game-changing thing called cache components. It's designed to fix one of the most annoying problems in web dev, that dreaded blank white screen. So let's dive in and see how this can make your apps feel unbelievably fast.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever built a page where the entire screen just stops, waiting for one slow piece of data to come back? You know, your navigation, your footer, everything is basically held hostage by a single API call. It's a terrible user experience, and it is exactly the problem we are going to solve today.
Yeah, we've all been there. I call it the waiting game. It's that moment where, say, you're fetching a list of product categories, and that one slow request stops anything and everything else from showing up. Your user is just left staring at a blank screen, wondering if something's broken.
So let's just walk through what this looks like for a user, right? They land on your site, the app immediately goes to get that category data. But, we've got a 2-second delay. For those 2 full seconds, the user sees absolutely nothing. Then, bam, the whole page just pops into existence. It feels jarring, it feels broken, and honestly, we can do way, way better. And this right here, this quote just hits the nail on the head. Think about it. The navigation bar, the footer, they have absolutely nothing to do with that category data. They should render instantly. So the whole point is, why are we making the fast stuff wait for the slow stuff? It just doesn't make sense.
And that is exactly where cache components come in to save the day. This is a whole new way of thinking in Next.js, and it gives you a powerful new toolkit, 2 key features really, to completely stop this UI blocking and create an experience that feels smooth as silk.
Okay, so how do you turn this magic on? You're not going to believe how simple this is. You pop open your next.js config.js file and you add this one line, cache components true. That's it. Seriously, you've just opted into a whole new level of performance. But here's the really cool part. Once you flip that switch, Next.js actually starts working for you. It'll find those slow blocking data fetches, and it'll throw this very specific warning in your console. It's basically pointing a big red arrow at the exact components you need to go fix. How cool is that?
Okay, so Next.js is pointing out the problem. How do we actually fix it? Well, the first tool on our new toolbox is for dynamic data. You know, the stuff that has to be fresh and new on every single page visit. For that, we're going to use a React feature called Suspense.
Now, if you haven't used Suspense before, don't worry, the concept is super simple but incredibly powerful. You just wrap a component that's fetching data and you tell it, hey, while you're waiting, show this cool loading skeleton instead. That means the rest of the page can just go ahead and load without waiting around. I mean, look at this. The difference is literally night and day. Without Suspense, you get that ugly blank screen and a frustrated user, but with Suspense, your header and footer show up instantly and the user sees a nice clean loading state right where the data is going to be. It just feels so much more polished and, fast. And just to be super clear here, that 2-second delay is still there. The data fetch still takes 2 seconds. But the crucial difference is that its negative impact is completely gone. The delay is now neatly contained inside that one little component instead of holding your entire UI hostage. But wait, Suspense is only half the story, right? What about data that doesn't change all the time? You know, like the star count on a GitHub repo. We for sure don't need to be fetching that every single time someone loads the page. And this quote from the source material just says it all perfectly. For this kind of data that can be a little stale, fetching it over and over again is just a waste of resources. We can grab it once and then reuse that result for a while. So what's the solution for this problem? Well, Next.js gives us this elegant little hook called use cache. You can think of it like this. The first time you fetch the data, use cache snags that result and locks it away in a little treasure chest. Then, on every other request, it just instantly pulls it from the chest. No waiting necessary. You know, in the past, you might have used revalidate on your fetch, but that could still have this little flicker, this tiny loading state. The new way with use cache is a totally different game. The data gets rendered into the page on the server, which means when it arrives in the user's browser, there is zero loading. The data is just there, instantly.
Okay, so right about now, you're probably thinking, this is awesome, but how do I control how long this stuff stays cached for? What if I need it for an hour or a day or even a week? Good question.
Well, they've got you covered with this handy little thing called cacheLife. It gives you all the control you need. You can set the duration in seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, all the way up to a maximum of 30 days. The default is 5 minutes, but for our GitHub stars example, setting it to 1 day would be perfect. You have total flexibility.
So you take Suspense for your dynamic stuff, you take Use Cache for your static stuff, you put them together, and what do you get? A truly blazing fast result for your users.
The impact on how fast the page feels to the user is it's huge. What used to feel clunky and slow now feels snappy, responsive, and professional. The page appears to be ready almost before they've even finished clicking.
And really, this is what it's all about. Your core UI, your navigation, your footer, and any of that static data you've cached, it's all there from the very first moment. It loads instantly, it gives the user immediate feedback, and a rock-solid first impression of your app.
So let's boil it all down. This is your new performance toolbox. It's a simple mental model. If the data absolutely has to be fresh every single time, wrap it in Suspense. If the data can be a little bit older, even just for a few minutes, use the Use Cache hook. That's it. That simple distinction will make a massive difference.
So what's the big takeaway here? You're getting a much faster feeling app. You're killing that annoying UI blocking, and you're creating a way smoother experience for your users. And you're doing it all with 2 super simple tools that you can turn on with just 1 line of code. It's a huge win.
And I really want to end on this quote because it gets to the heart of why we do this. This isn't just about shaving milliseconds off a performance score. This is about building an experience that people genuinely enjoy using. A fast, smooth app just feels better, period. And your users will absolutely notice. So I'll leave you with this question to think about for your own work. As you're sitting here right now, I'm sure a component just popped into your head. So, what's the first slow part of your app that you're going to go fix with these new tools?